Greetings, hello, welcome to the stream. I'm sorry, it's been a week since I've been streaming. Last week I had some exciting training stuff, and then on Monday I was at a poetry night with our wonderful production manager Ross McFarlane. Just listening to some absolute world-beating poetry. It's amazing. If you're ever in Glasgow on the first Monday of the month and you're not here watching the stream, you should absolutely go and check out Candlelight Open Mic at in Glasgow at the Old Toll Bar. First Monday of every month is what I've been told to say. Hello. So it's going to be slightly different today. It's kind of I'm joined by a person who you may or may not recognise. So for episode 4 of Camlann, we thought we'd do something interesting and bring in some guest sound designers. I've just realised I haven't paused this, so it's about to make another noise. There we go. We decided to try something with Camlann and have a couple of guest sound designers do a couple of episodes. This was partially to make things slightly easier for me when it came to editing, but also because I feel like it's something that you don't see very often in audio drama. Like, you have people do whole series, or they maybe work on one episode or a couple of episodes, but like I feel like it's not spotlighted or highlighted. And as someone who thinks that sound design is an art in and of itself, I was very much like, I want to have episodes or parts of episodes where I can give sound designers free reign to be like, design this entire scene, this entire part of the story. And luckily we had a couple of episodes that did that. One of those was episode 4 when Gwen and Perry go to get supplies. We got a space where they went away from the cottage for a bit, and then that was designed by the fantastic person I'm talking here today. So Kai, would you like to introduce yourself for everyone?
Hello, my name is Cai Gwilym Pritchard. I'm a sound designer, sound artist, a couple various other things. But yeah, for the purposes of this, I'm a sound designer and sound artist. Yeah. What else are you supposed to say about yourself? My pronouns are they, them. There we go. That's important.
Amazing. Yeah, we're both representing the non-binary big hair brigade today.
Yeah.
I was wearing glasses earlier on as well, but I've had to take them off because I think there's we briefly mentioned this earlier. I potentially have an ear infection. So it's fine. I can still hear stuff. That's the important thing. But my ears are very sensitive right now.
I've just been ill and my ears are muffled, so it's really unfortunate. Real kind of peak. Yeah, I was thinking when you were saying like guest sound designers, but like it's not a thing that's pointed out a lot. I was thinking when I was like, when you asked me to be involved, I was thinking it's like when you get like features on like rap songs.
That's such a way of looking at it. Yes.
Like feat, whatever. Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of stuff with lyrics these days, but yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you said, for the purposes of this, you're a sound designer, but you're also a noise musician. I think that's kind of what I wanted to start off talking about. Because I think I was trying to remember how I came across Chain of Being, which is your amazing audio drama, that we will almost certainly be talking about later.
Yeah.
Definitely at the end when you do your plugs, but I think. Like I don't remember how I came across it. I'm assuming it was Ella, just because that's just how I assume I hear about everything now. And I think Ella's in chat saying I recommended it so much. So yeah, I'm just going to assume it was Ella. But like I think the thing that I loved about it was that like this is using noise in an artistic way rather than like, because like. We both do experimental audio drama, I mean, I think you just need to look at the two of us and you'd figure that out. But I think it's but I think one of the things that I am often put off with when it comes to experimental audio drama, especially loud experimental audio drama, is that it gets to a point where it's like, we're just going to make lots of loud noises just to make you feel uncomfortable and not have any kind of narrative significance to it. And I think what I loved about Chain of Being was that it felt like it was being used in an interesting way that I hadn't encountered. And also I think learning that you're a sound musician kind of made it more interesting, kind of being like, because I feel like it's such a niche area, and I think I'd never really heard about it crossing over with sound design before. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your work as a
Yeah.
noise musician.
It's weird. It's like I had this mad like existential crisis the other day because like my birthday's on Friday, so I'm turning 22, and I was like, well, this is the thing, and I was like, oh man, I've got like a while, like I'm gonna be doing this for a while, and I kind of had this like mad like, oh, the rest of my life is because I want to like really find how noise music and like sound art, I guess, if you want to be more general, and like audio drama can kind of cross over. And I was like, oh, this is just gonna be what I'm doing, what I'm doing for the rest of my life. But yeah, no, I started Chain of Being when I was like 17 years old, and it started off from the point of view of like I want a very specific kind of like sci-fi, mythic sci-fi, I think it's been called, which I feel is very apt. But like it felt good to write because I was very into that kind of thing, but didn't see it in a sci-fi context. And then got into the sound aspect of it, and then went to university. I go to, which I'm in my final year now, but I went to London College of Communication and did a sound arts course where it was more. There was definitely some technical side to it, but it was a lot of like one of my first lessons was we came in and my teacher was playing a track called I think it's called like the Litanies of Satan by Diamanda Galas, and she's this like Spanish noise artist, and she's basically holding two mics and just kind of going like it's basically like speaking in tongues almost. It's like really, and it was like 12 minutes long, but it's like really unpleasant to listen to. And then I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm in the right place. And just sort of went from there, and I discovered various like techniques. I tried a lot of different things. Got really into like glitch and feedback as like a kind of specifically like sonic aesthetics, which I found out recently is a queer thing, but that's like a whole
Yes,
other.
of course it is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But yeah, doing I think noise music. Sorry, remind me the question. I started doing context, and then it was
okay.
how
So
it.
the question was sort of like basically just can you tell us a bit about your work as a noise musician
Okay.
and kind of how that
Yeah.
informs your approach to sound design?
Yeah, so lots of feedback. I do a thing called no input mixing, which you basically take the outputs and put it into the inputs, and then you can use like the internal noise of a mixer, and then once you like mess with the EQ, it's so fun and simple. I've never owned a synth, but I make electronic music. I either use virtual synths or I just use a no input mixer. But like it's this weird kind of, I don't know, yeah, very kind of DIY approach to it. Sort of, there's that kind of noise music that I'm into has a lot of crossover with like punk kind of scene. And then yeah, do a lot of feedback stuff. I've been kind of experimenting with other methods and stuff, but I usually end up coming to kind of harsh noise approach to things. And then in terms of like sound design, I think once you kind of start doing sound just for the sake of itself without having to represent something, it is what it is. Like it just is how it sounds. It's kind of like you start to think about all sound in a similar way, and it kind of like changed my perspective. So when I sound design, I feel, I think it makes me a better sound designer, I think, just because it's like you can use anything and do anything and mess with anything and warp it into whatever way you want. I mean, that's how I got to that point, was through noise music. And then in Chain of Being, it's like, there's so many times where I've used like no input as like a sound effect, or trying to do some sort of psychoacoustic thing with very like certain frequencies just to like freak people out on purpose and all these kind of things. But like I just experiment. There's like moments where I just will do a thing, and then maybe a year later I'll go, oh, that actually might work for this. But I have just like, tons and tons of recordings of stuff that I don't know what to do with. I just will try a thing and then kind of leave it. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Does that answer the question? I'm not good at being succinct.
I think so. Like, I mean, look, we've got
Sure.
2 hours. Don't worry about being succinct. I have 4 things written down that I want to talk about. So take as long as you like. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's interesting because I think, you're talking about, this is the thing that you're interested in kind of. Not I was going to use like the scary things of dedicating your life to, which is a big scary thing, but like you're sort of at the moment you're sort of defining your practice as trying to work out where audio drama and noise music kind of overlap, and like that's kind of, if you sort of take out noise music and you just put in sort of like ambient music, that's very much my kind of thing, is seeing where music and sound design overlap in audio drama.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting, and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on to Camlann, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say who the other person is, but I'll keep it a secret for now. But what interested me is that it very much feels like you have when it comes to your sound design, you have a definite voice, and I think that is informed from coming from a different, not coming into audio drama just from sound design. You're coming at it from a slightly different angle, and also we've talked about the queerness and political aspects of things like glitch music, and I find that absolutely fascinating. And I think there was a stream a few weeks ago where I specifically said, like, it's this essay, and it was the essay that you sent me about
Nice.
the politics of glitch, and I find that really interesting.
Andrew Brooks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, which is a fascinating,
Awesome.
fascinating.
It changed my perspective on on what I do. Like I completely really mad, just completely wild.
Well, it was
I
funny
love that.
because it ended up. No, it was when I was talking about shortcuts, because the essay ended up leading me to In a Queer Time and Space, which is Jack Halberstrom's book, and that was talking about queer time, which is what the shortcuts piece was about. So I ended up kind of adding those themes into that piece, which was grand. So, and I think something that I've talked about is you can approach sound design as a technician or as an artist. And I think different jobs demand different things. Like if I'm editing an interview, like a non-fiction interview, I'm not like, how can I best express my artistic self in the way I cut out these ums and ahs in this thing.
Yeah.
But whereas if it's a audio drama piece or a film, like you're kind of coming in being like, right, what's the best way to tell this story? And how best can I add my voice to it? And I think the thing that I enjoy about your sound design is that you have a very distinctive voice and sound. And I was excited to get to make that a part of Camlann, but at the same time, I was also a little bit nervous as well, because I was like, I hope these two things gel together when you stick them next
Just
to
submit
each other.
like 2 hours of like static. Like it's just listen.
I won't lie. When you sent the first draft over, I was like, how much of this is going to be noise? Like, in terms of, because I was expecting the dogs to like. I kind of listened to it, and I was like, I'll be honest, I was expecting the dogs to be a lot more uncomfortable to listen to. This. I mean, it's still great. It's perfect and it's fantastic. And but and I was just like, this is some decorative noise. This is great. But I guess that comfortably leads me on to the next thing, which is like, so I actually kind of design this very particular chunk of an episode, and I guess I'm curious as to sort of what the process was like from your side, from start to finish, because I've worked on a couple of other shows as a sound designer where it's either been I've been given a whole episode to do, like with something like the Amelia Project, or something like Victoriosity, where it's like, can you do these specific sounds and then we'll integrate them into the series of the library. So I guess sort of like what was it like? What was it like for you to kind of come into this series halfway through and kind of be given a just some vocal takes and told to do a thing?
I think I had done, but like as you had mentioned, like the whole episodes, like all of Super Suits is me. And then I've done and also and then Ethics Town, I just did the sound design for it. And then like I've done other sort of small things that have been like dropped in, or like sound design to specific scenes that have been sent. But to have like just send the dialogue in it, but for a thing in the middle of an episode is definitely new for me. I think, I don't know. Yeah, it was definitely. I known about the premise, and I know that like because I had read, I think, a draft ages ago of like the first episode.
I love how this has just become this open thing where like everyone in audio drama has read Camlann at some point.
Yeah. I was like, I read it ages ago and was like so into it as like a concept. I was like, this is banging. Can't wait for it to come out. And then you asked me to be involved. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sick. All right, I am involved.
It was like, please, you have to help me.
But I think taking that and then sort of not knowing the character super well, but then sort of picking up sort of context based. But I guess what was put to me was more facilitating the scripts and what had been sort of written. So it was, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of and was gathering the vibe slightly from like music and stuff you'd sent, but also I tried not to. I did try to find a balance of, I'm very like sci-fi minded, and it's very easy to do what I like to do in a sci-fi context, but to take something that is, what genre is this? Fantasy? Apocalypse?
Yeah, I think fantasy is kind of
Yeah.
what I would describe it as.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of, and then, or, in that context, and then trying to figure out how to work it in, but, still trying to keep my own stylings, whatever those are. But yeah, I think as well, it's like the sort of lead up to it, and it was like developing a setting as well, which I find very appealing. I love doing Atmos. I think Atmos is so fun. Like it's just, it's the sort of the foundation, the kind of establishing shot is like opening with just the sound of like an Atmos, which I love, just like just sitting with a sound for a bit. But yeah, I don't know, I just I just got stuck in. I don't know. Like I think it was more just like I think take a first run at it and then send it to you and use that as like a foundation for what direction I should head in. I think was my approach. It was like, I'll just do what I think is like fun, and then if that is what fits, then that's what fits. And if I need to change it, I need to change it, I think is the thing. So and it worked. So like as yeah. And then it was at the end. Oh yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think talking about Atmos, I think that's something kind of worth highlighting. I think because I think one of the things that struck me from listening to the drafts that you sent through was kind of just how alive the town was. There's you can sort of hear animals in the background and things. And I always find it interesting. When it's an interesting sound design thing where it's like everyone's going to hear things in a different way, right? And I think I think that was something that I wouldn't have picked up on, and I thought that was a really interesting choice. And I think throughout the episode, in the scenes, like there is this sense of things being, when they go into the store, you can hear rats scurrying around, and like when they're walking around town, you can hear animals in the distance somewhere else in the town. And I thought that was really cool. And I'm just, was that always something that was in your head, or was that something that kind of developed as you were making stuff? Because I remember you messaging me being like, I've never had to design a real life location before.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really,
that was
like,
the thing.
I absolutely understand that, like, because it's one of the hardest things to do. But like, I'm just curious as to how that came about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is funny, like doing a sort of a place in real life where I wish I have like 50 different notebooks. I don't know which one it's in, but like I drew a map of like the route that in my head they would take. So like I went out to Google Street View and was like, okay,
you sent me a picture. Hang on, do I have it?
It'll be in the chat. I'm trying to find this notebook, but
you sent me a picture of Carmarthen train station. Of the car park, specifically a bit that said no parking, and said, well, the car park that
leads up to the Wilco, yeah. And then I was like, just in my head, I thought it'd be funny if they parked on the no parking thing, because it's like, post kind of societal collapse thing. Just that tickled me. I don't know why. It's like completely not in the sound design. There's no way to make that apparent. Yeah. You
just hear this like really like ghostly voiceover being like, it says no parking. Like,
but no, I think in terms of like keeping it alive. I mean, I've always like, thought. It's gonna get really depressing. I've always thought about the world like ending. I've grown up in the Tories have been basically in power my entire life. So like, it's you can understand it, like once you sort of look at the things that I've like the society that I've grown up in, it becomes very apparent why I've become an anarchist. Like it's like, but in the context of like, like if nature sort of taking over in a sort of decaying town, I guess, in the sort of like built up urban areas eventually just become, I mean, we saw it right in lockdown in like Llandudno, where the goats came down off the mountain and were just walking around and stuff, like and that was over like the course of a year, so you can imagine like over time. So I think it was just like, it will still be alive, the world is still going to be alive, humans aren't like the singular like most important thing on the planet. Like,
Yeah.
of course, things will grow. Like, you know, I mean, it's that kind of. I'm trying to remember the word for it. There's a word for it of like exceptionalism of like humanity thinking that we are like the only important things on the planet and then everything else is like there for us. So I don't know, that kind of idea of just like, but also it did come from just like as I was developing it. I mean, my process is usually just do a thing and then I will go, oh, that's why I did it, because I trust my subconscious.
Yeah, no, I do
Like,
that.
just
Like,
sort of,
you put
yeah,
something down
it's
and
like,
then you
oh,
figure out the reasons later. Yeah, no, I
ah,
get that.
that's really clever. Like, you know.
Oh, I accidentally do good sound
Yeah,
design. Yeah.
good. I'm good. Yeah, I think that was the thing for me, was just like, just thinking about what things will be like after. But then, you know, people are still around, obviously. But at what point the town just is not for people anymore? It's a very interesting thing to think about, and especially in the context of sound as well, because like, God, no, you know what? It's good. We have 2 hours, yeah. Like,
Yeah, we got 2 hours.
Because I just think about like soundscapes. This is what one of my things is on. My tutor did his like wrote a book about this, about like soundscapes in relation to like human influence, in that there's this like field recording thing that you do when you're field recording where you are not present. You have to cut yourself out of it, but you are not like a party. And this idea that like when I record stuff out in nature and I can hear cars, especially when I'm recording in Wales, because the sort of crisscross of roads, like I was recording at Camlann recently, and just the cars always going past and being annoyed at that, but then realizing that that's still part of the nature of it. In that, I mean, that reservoir is artificial anyway, so like there is no, like, we have reached a point in the sort of, God, this is getting so like intense, but we've reached a point in our sort of society. Okay, I'm going to stop soon. I'm just going to finish this thought. In the society where we are like physically affecting the geography of the places we live in, so there is no like untouched natural soundscape anymore. And so thinking about that in the context of like urban environments as well is there's a lot there, and it gets very political eventually. But anyway, sorry, I'll stop.
No,
Jesus, I'm so sorry.
like, yeah, like it's an interesting thought, because I think and I think it was a very interesting approach. Sorry, just talking about like animals returning to nature. I think I vaguely remember reading something that in Chernobyl they've now got cancer-proof dogs running around.
I thought there's frogs as well. The frogs are getting darker. The frogs like are all black now because it blocks up radiation.
But they're like, but they're still fine. Like Chernobyl's still very much alive, which I think is quite hopeful and quite wonderful. But yeah, I thought there was, and I just generally loved the way you did the ambiences for episode 4. Was there like, just I'm gonna just play a little clip of it just because we're here and we can, but I feel like there was some like EMF stuff going on. Have I got that right? Hang on.
Yeah, that's
As they're going in. Assuming that's a pig.
I don't remember what that is. I think it's a fox.
Yeah, that sound. That sort of.
Oh, it's fluttering.
Oh, it's fluttering. Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because
I see what you mean though. I can hear the EMF. I can hear because I think we did
just
talk about EMF recordings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of curious about, we're talking about noise, because I know there's a point where you used noise in a really interesting way to like build up tension right before the dog attack, and I thought that was really cool. And that's the bit when we were doing the listen along, everyone was like, oh wow, the sound design here is really cool, and there's me just going, yeah, it's really good, isn't it? It's great. Yeah.
And the rest of the series?
Yeah, but the rest of the series, no. But yeah, no, I thought was that no input, or was that a...
That was a no input recording I did like in my second year of uni. I just had ready. I think I just liked the way that it was kind of it like built itself up. Although that is the recording but reversed, but because it's not like a real thing,
yeah,
you can't like tell. So the actual thing was a sudden transient and then going away with like over time. But then reversing that, it kind of builds up and builds up and builds up and then sort of hits. But you can, I guess the other sort of thing about no input is if you have like a mixer with built-in effects, you're able to use those effects to create a further feedback loop. So reverb creates a very kind of like a like resonance kind of thing that can get quite metallic, and then delay creates like a lot of repeats and stuff. I mean, there's a chorus is my favorite because it has this really weird morphing kind of thing to it. But that's just like a no input mixer with reverb built into it. That has this kind of it cuts through the mix really well as well. No input. I found that like you can sort of drop it in and you can usually hear it unless there's like very specific
Because it
circumstances.
usually
But
tends to start quite high, doesn't it? And then it
mm,
sort of, yeah.
yeah,
Because I think that was my other question, was like, when it came to doing the no input stuff, like, do you just have like a library of, like, almost like a sound library of no input recordings that you can sort of
I
refer
do.
to?
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought, yeah, because like
yeah.
I've got that with EMFs where it's just like just a load of them, but and also I have that with like modular stuff as well,
Yeah.
because the wonderful thing about this is that you can't save presets, so you either have to like draw them or take pictures, or it's great that the instruction manual for the Moog grandmother, at the back of it there's like diagrams, like blank diagrams, so you can like draw
Nice.
where and then you can set where all the dials are and stuff. It's great. I love it very
That's
much.
awesome.
I don't use it. I don't like, because basically I'm very much just like, I know how to roughly get to the same sound each time, but yeah, I think that's really interesting that you sort of. I mean, I'm just very, very curious as to, like, let's have a listen. Let's see if we can find the sound and then have a listen to it. And we
Yeah.
can,
I'm so happy to talk about it. Oh yeah, that's just yeah.
it starts. Where does it start?
Hear that? Toilet roll!
We'll
Yes!
start with
Perry!
the roll. There we go.
I think there's something in here with us. Hang on. Let me just get this. Peridia! Seriously, what is it? Something is watching us.
Ooh, I didn't notice that before. That's really cool.
Whatever it is, it's leaving us alone for now. Come on.
Legitimately quite terrifying. Like, I think that's such a good, like,
Yeah.
like I just just a genuinely brilliant moment.
Well, what it is, I think, with no input is because it's like, going into the kind of like different, what's the word? The way that like we listen for like the origins of something. Like we kind of think about the source as opposed to the actual qualities of the sound itself. And what I find really appealing about no input is that when you're doing like, you know, if you do like noise stuff like sun, o, and all this kind of like, you know, using instruments that people recognize, and you kind of hear some stuff and go, oh well, that's a guitar, obviously, with just like, you know, you're doing some shoegaze, so you've got like a million kind of pedals and stuff. But then I think with no input, I find it so interesting that like unless you know, unless you can sort of realize that it's no input and know exactly how it's done, you don't really know what it is, and there's something quite unsettling about not knowing that, which I find is really good for like for horror. So yeah, and also there's something very visceral. I think there's some part of my brain that it really just like hits doing no. I do it for like, I just will do it and then not record sometimes because I find it very cathartic and quite relaxing. It's the most horrible shit you'll ever have heard in your life, but it's like, you know, my ear is completely, you know, been ruined by the music that I listen to. So
Yeah, well, 'cause I think
yeah.
like with a couple of no input people have kind of said make sure you're running it through a compressor or something so you don't blow your eardrums out. I don't own a compressor. So like, the one time where I was playing around with it, because there was a film that my partner's making that they've asked me to score, and they're very much just like, I don't really need music for it. And watching the film, it's like an experimental sort of horror film. Like, oh, maybe I could try no input stuff, and then played around with it for maybe half an hour and was like, nope, it hurts.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's slightly too. I think it's something I'm kind of unlearning. I think because I recently got. I told you about the organismic synthesizer that I got, which is like 8 like channels that all feed back on each other, and you can't control it. Like, it plays you. It's a beautiful piece of equipment. I love it very much. But like, I find it when I'm scoring in particular, like, I like having that control over everything being like, and to a certain extent, and I used to have that with sound design, but I think Camlann has disabused me of that particular way of working. In particular with like I think, and again, this is something that we've talked about previously, where I think there's such a um uh convention, I guess, in audio drama for things to sound clean and to be even, and everything's at the right level and everything's audible at the right places and things. And I think with Camlann, I've definitely embraced the kind of sort of in the way we recorded it and the way we're kind of editing it and doing the sound design and the music, and kind of doing the classic, like something that I'm very interested in is this old idea that like when we used to record music on tape, you had to like commit to the performance, right? Like it wasn't a case of I'll just do that again. You had a limited amount of tape.
Yeah.
And kind of taking that idea and like using it for like making something entirely on this, like because you could theoretically do that, but kind of committing to the messiness of it. And I think an interesting thing about noise music is that you do have to kind of embrace the chaos of it. And I'm interested in like how you manage is the wrong word, but I guess like how do you factor that chaos into a sound design edit?
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that's the appeal of doing noise music for me is the lack of control. There's a sound artist called Mark Fell who reading about like his approach to doing sound art and this idea that like the setup that he's using it's like a back and forth with the thing that he's almost like talking to it, that he will like do something, it will respond, and then he will respond in turn and go back and forth. And that's what I find very appealing about doing no input specifically, in that there is definitely recurring similar sounds, but you will never get the same thing twice, and every single time I'm doing an improvisation it will sound completely different. And I like that because it's almost like it's kind of a slightly animistic, I guess, of like this is a separate entity almost. It's getting real hippie, but like a thing that I'm sort of communicating with that is beyond me. And I think it also allows me to put a distance to my work, in that I can kind of sit and go, well, this wasn't all me, and so I can appreciate it still without feeling really self-centered.
No, I get
like
that.
It's like this, what I didn't, I love everything I make, there's always some element of randomness into it, and like even if it's like I'm doing something in like an Ableton session file, there'll always be some parameter that is randomized, because I don't want, because if I know what's going to happen, then I don't care as much. Like it's like I just want to sort of play it out. And so I think but then obviously with sound design, you're like doing it to a script, so it's kind of a slightly different approach, I guess. I don't know if it's how much of that sort of randomness factors. I guess it does, in that like the sort of this elements of the score, like that no input thing obviously wasn't done to the action, and so it was kind of like laying it out and then figuring out when it starts and when it stops, and then the sort of flow of that particular track of the sort of build up to the tension becomes like, what was I saying? It becomes like decides for me which moments in that period of time are like important, in that like the thing will like bubble up and then die down again after a thing has been said, or before like the crossbow is being loaded, and wherever it sits, it then creates an importance to the moment that it itself has decided. So it's kind of, but then I think that would probably be the most the approach for me, I think, is that I like to give control to this system, I guess.
Because I mean, by the sounds of things, what you're doing is you're kind of the chaos is happening sort of over there, and then you're taking the results of that and kind of like creating the pieces over there and then assembling them in a sound design sense. Hello, Mysterious, good to see you, and hello, Sassy Catastrophe, wonderful to have you here. Thank you for coming along. Nice. I'm chatting with Cai Gwilym Pritchard about Camlann, and it's very in depth.
Taking some strange turns, but yeah.
But yeah, no, I love that. Like, I think, like, I guess, sort of develop on. I guess this might be asking the same question again, and if it's if it is, please let me know. But like the we're talking about chaos and chaos in noise music in particular. But like, I guess like, do you think that has a place in sound design? Have you ever had a sort of a sound design edit where you have been able to have a slightly more improvisational kind of more chaotic approach to stuff. Like, have you ever sort of had that with Chain of Being, or like, have you ever tried building something around that, or is that something you would like to do in the future?
I guess I don't know, improvisational in to the extent that I am not like, I like sound design as I read the script and kind of sort of block out the scene in my head, I guess, and then, you know, something will strike me as fitting. But I guess, yeah, I think just throwing something in and feeling it out, as opposed to, like, you know. But then I guess that's just, isn't that how it's normally done? Like, don't you just like chuck stuff in and then I don't know, like, yeah, like just sort of just playing around and experimenting, I guess, in terms of like a sound design aspect. I think in Chain of Being there's a lot of like, yeah, a lot of but then that ordered chaos, I think, is a really good way to put it, in that, you know, there's the episode where they, spoilers, but it's like, so it's been out for like ages, but like, you know, there's they are sort of making their way to that, like, god's corpse, basically, and it's talk about how hot it is. And there's a recording I did ages and ages ago, it was like in my first year of uni, where I got like a very cheap microphone and like held it under a lighter, and then like dipped into some water and took it out and held it under a lighter, like over and over. And then that, I kind of put that in basically just raw, like very minimal, maybe like a compressor just to like bring out some of the stuff. But like, you know, just seeing, it felt like thematic, because like, well, there's fire, there's heat, there's kind of this link together, you know. But I think it's slightly harder, I guess, in because you have this session file and the way that it's laid out, it's like there's nothing there except for what you put into it, like with no input, which is what I'll keep going back to, just because it's like my main artistic practice in terms of noise music. But like, there is more than what you will put into it. There's like the reactions and there's the internal noise that's already there. But in like a session file, there's nothing there that you haven't had complete explicit control over. I don't know how you would do like an audio drama that is completely of that same thing. I mean, you know, maybe you go and record, you go for like a sound walk, and as you're sort of walking through, you just, you know, pick out certain elements and build a story from a field recording first, and then you write the script after. Or I don't know, I'm like, it would have to be a you know, a thing done in practice, I think. Because I think the nature of it means if you talk about it, then you've planned ahead. You would have to just go and do it, I think.
It's one of these things, I don't want us to get into a conversation of like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Like, that's not really what we're here to talk about. Yeah, but I think that's really interesting, and I think the way you've brought in noise, the way you used noise in this episode, I thought was really, really interesting, and I thought it was just genuinely quite terrifying in a really positive way, obviously. Because I think my assumption was that like the big sort of noise will be the dogs, but then it turned out to be no. It was like the second before the dogs where the big noise happened, and I thought that was really interesting and a really interesting choice, and really, really cool. I want to. I know we're sort of going through the scenes that you design. I want to talk about the speech that Gwen does, because so when we were recording it. It was the first time I was like, oh, damn, I'm really sad I'm not sound designing it, because this is how I do it. And then it made me incredibly happy when you sent your draft through, because I was like, oh, they did it. Yes, they did the thing. So to kind of, for people in the chat, for people watching, so for Gwen's big speech, that's through the supermarket tannoy, we kind of, I basically did the thing that I did a lot during the recording week, where I said to Ella, can I try something? And Ella, being the fantastic director that she is, went, yes, of course. So we used walkie-talkies a lot for Camlann. I've talked about that in previous streams, where we had somebody with a walkie-talkie in the studio, and then we had a walkie-talkie in a different room with another microphone where somebody else on the other end. What we did this time around was we had the walkie-talkie in another room in my partner's office and a microphone pointed at it, and then I basically gave Nicole the other microphone and basically said, do the speech into this as though you're talking through a tannoy. reason number one was that we kind of thought it would help with the performance because it sort of meant that Nicole had that tactile feeling of holding it, like speaking into something rather than just kind of acting, actionless and making it a much more of a full body performance. But then also as well, because I thought, it would be interesting to use the walkie-talkie output as like an extra sound that we could maybe have in the background. And when I can't remember if I sent you this take. Dr. Lou, hello Lou, good to have you here. Good to have you here as always. But yes, but when we were, I think the first take we did, Nicole was doing this quite intense speech, turned the walkie-talkie off, and then the walkie-talkie started speaking on its own. And because it did not occur to me when I bought these 2 walkie-talkies and was like, yeah, we're going to use these walkie-talkies to record, that other people could tune into them while we were using them. So we couldn't make out what was being what was being said through it. But here's the thing. So there's like a big supermarket, maybe like 5 minutes in that direction. There's also a fire station down the road. So we were just like some ham radio enthusiast out there critiquing your performance. I was just like, we're just giving these firefighters a really weird day. Because the thing is, like, if you listen to the speech, there's nothing in context that says, this is clearly acting. It's somebody saying into a microphone going, please leave my friend alone. And it's,
Oh my god!
it's just like, oh no, we're like freaking out the entire staff of the local Morrisons, so that was a kind of slightly scary thing to realize. And it happened a couple of times where it was just like, right, I'm just going to quickly change the channel on the walkie-talkies because somebody can hear us. But I'm going to play the scene as it appears in the episode, because what you did was basically what I wanted to do, and I'm really glad you did it.
And maybe you I don't know who.
Sorry, I'm going to see if I can find it. Oh, there we go.
Hello? Is this thing working? Please, listen. I don't know who or what you are, but you are hurting my friend, and I need you to stop. I don't want to hurt you. Neither of us do. And I get it. You're scared. You're angry. You're confused. This isn't where you're supposed to be. This isn't where any of us are supposed to be. And maybe you can't take it out on whoever or whatever did this to you, but you can take it out on us, and that's good enough. But if you are like us, if you are like me, then it should matter that we aren't the people who hurt you. You don't have to be the monster that everyone thinks you are. You're still you, and you have a choice. Please, leave us alone.
Oh, just brilliant. Very, very, very well done. Just great. I mean, fantastic performance from Nicole, but yeah, like I think I sent you the walkie-talkie audio as a separate file, being like, you can use this if you like, you don't have to, but kind of going, please do use it. I think it will sound amazing. Yeah, and I think it kind of leads me to another thing, but also watch that back and then imagine hearing it through a walkie-talkie in a fire station while you're like eating your sandwich at lunchtime, right? Like that was the big fear, right? But there was no identifying information, so they couldn't find us. But yeah, I think something that I'm appreciating more listening back to it now is like the way you've sort of designed the space, and that's like down to the reverbs as well, and things like where they're you're trying to manifest into existence. Yeah, that's worse. Just people at the fire station be like, no, where are? Because the thing is, it was multiple takes as well. So
that's even weirder.
Whoever was tuning in would have like heard this once and then gone, "What the hell was that?" And then would have heard it again.
Would you assume that it was a performance? I don't know, because it's obviously
know.
from our perspective, it's obviously obvious. But like, if you're not in like that world, do you?
The thing is, though, right? It's good acting. So I think people will genuinely believe someone was in distress.
Again and again.
The thing is, so Ross and I were like talking about it afterwards, and I'm like, that's an amazing way to like broadcast an audio drama. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this like ultra experimental idea where you broadcast an audio drama through walkie-talkies just to the local area that happen to be tuned to that frequency.
Pirate radio, but like audio drama.
It's gonna be an audience of like two people.
That's somebody in my class. It does something like that, but for noise music performances. Like they get everybody to bring their own radios, and then they have like an FM transmitter in their like setup, and then everyone just has their own radios and becomes part of like the
I love
thing.
that.
It's awesome. I really want to do like a live show of an audio drama with that like setup, because it's so cheap. It's like you can just get a transmitter that's
it's like 20
whatever.
quid.
I mean, I don't know how. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's real. Yeah, literally. Yeah. So I think it would be really interesting just to have like it's as loud as and as like spread out as everybody else, and then obviously if people don't have their own radios or whatever, they just come and stand next to you, and then if you want, you can like plug in your headphones, you can listen to it as if you were still. Anyway, yeah, we've gone back to wouldn't it be cool if we did
wouldn't
this
it be
thing,
cool
but
if we did this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it though?
It would be a bit like, I love that. Like, I mean, yeah, a consistent thing is and you can hear it in Camlann, right? Is like voices being broadcast through something else, and I think that's something that I've always played around with in my own work. Why not both? It's like we're gonna spend like the slope, the line we're having to walk along is saying interesting things about sound design. We're not going, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did this, and then just talking about cool theoretical ideas for an hour, which I'm not saying wouldn't be interesting, but it's not necessarily on topic. As time goes on, the probability of Kai suggesting experimental noise music approaches we've definitely we opened talking about experimental noise music.
If anybody wants a list of recommendations, DM me on Twitter. I can just give you anything. Like, we could be here for hours.
This is a perfect time to use the Kai command that I put in.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Cool.
So just to kind of desperately try and keep us on topic. So when you were doing the sound design, how much of it was this is the sort of standard sound design interview question, right? How much of it was library and how much of it was phone? Because you sent me a picture of like a clothes horse with some like cans of like empty cans in it. That like, this is part of the phone. Yeah. But how much of it was
That's just what my room looks like.
I was pointing at the wooden shaker on the bed. What are you talking about?
No, yeah, it's. I've been trying to move away from library stuff. I mean, sometimes obviously like footsteps. Fuck that. I'm doing library till I die. But like it's always there's the recording you do yourself if you can get it done in the right way. Obviously, there's a lot of like resources that have to come together to be able to do your own Foley, but. Just like setting up like a mic stand and a shotgun mic. I think any of the clambering object bag movement stuff was done here. Just because I felt like, a clamber is very specific. Yeah. I think that the kind of motion of that. And also I love I don't know, I love noise, like capital N noise. I think it's unwanted sound fucks. Like it's just, and so I think the sort of lots of rustles and cans and metal and kind of, I don't know, just felt good. It felt good to make that sound and kind of have the control over it. I sort of like tried to break into my own house. Like I went outside with a big like metal pole and then like tried to pry open my door to get the sound of the prying for the like sliding doors in the Wilco. I was like, all right, everyone needs to shut up. I need to like pry open the door, which I'm sure if the landlords are watching, they'll fucking take my security deposit for that. But it sounded good. So like, what are you gonna do?
I fully endorse freaking out your
Yeah.
neighbors in the name of sound
Yeah.
design. I've done it many times. Like, I
Yeah,
can't
my
remember if
God,
I told
yeah.
you the folklore story that. So I think in folklore, there's a scene where like there's a tarot reading inside like an old abandoned subway tunnel. And I was just like, right, I want to get like this very specific like ambience you get. And I was just like, well, the close that I'm in, it's all sort of stone. It's a Glasgow close, right? It's all stone, very reflective surfaces. So I was just like, right, well, I set up the microphone outside my front door and like turning tarot cards over, turning tarot cards over and getting the reflections off the thing. This was like the middle of the day, right? Everyone in my close has like a job, so I just assumed it would be fine. But while I was turning over tarot cards with a microphone pointed at the tarot cards, by the way, just to make things look extra weird, turning them over and very intently listening to the sound, my neighbor across the hall comes up the stairs, with like shopping bags. And the thing is, because it's quite a narrow close, I was like sitting cross-legged facing the stairs, turning tarot cards over with a microphone, and I was going, oh, it's not what it looks like. And I was very much just like, what does it look like? That's kind of what I want to do. But yeah, so let's chalk that another one up to and then also for episode 1 I had all the actors running around my garden like outside like yelling, and I'm just like, it's fine, we're making a thing. So yeah, I fully endorse that. I can't believe you tried to break into your own house. Like this.
It worked. Like method sound designing, I guess. Is that like,
Hi, American here. What is a close? So I think a stairwell is probably what you described. So it's like when you go into an apartment building. And you've got like the stairs going up to the different floors or the lift or whatever. I don't know if this is like a UK thing, but in Glasgow it's called a close. It's basically just the stairs that link all the flats together, all the apartments together. Anything. I'm curious about where the unwanted sound fuck's name of my sex tape. Kai, so last week I found this rare record of 3 hours of mice screaming, and I think if I play it while pouring water and then playing back from 3 different speakers, apparently that's every conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just going to send you quickly a picture, just talking about bizarre things that you do for like a job that we do for this. Yeah. I had to do the sound of like a giant wearing lots of like furs sitting down, so I put on every soft fabric.
Oh my god!
And then sat down.
Hang on.
Can you show that? Or...
Yeah, hang on. I need to change the screen. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. I look like a strange kind of wizard.
Yes, it is quite amazing. Hang on. See if I can put this in. Oh no!
It's not working.
I'll put it up as an image. 2 seconds.
It's
Download. Oh no, where did it go? Sorry, I do know how to compute. Just talk amongst yourselves for a bit while I figure this out.
How are we all doing?
Right.
Suit of chainmail Foley bangs. That's really cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So this is
you know, for work.
Yeah, that's the No, I can relate to that. One of these days I'll need to do some kind of Foley, and that involves actually putting on my suit of chainmail. I actually got so Humble Bundle did a sound design bundle, which is great. There was one pack called Footsteps. There was one pack called Movement. It's just my life is infinitely easier. There's also one just called Medieval, and it's mostly armor sounds, and it makes me very happy. Y'all are doing great. I love these streams. Thank you very much.
Film Cow released all of the sound effects that he used for like his YouTube animations on Bandcamp for free, and it's been
really
great.
Cool. That's like
so
I love it when people like release their sound effect libraries. Like I would like to do it at some point, but I'm very aware that a lot of the boundary of what's my sound and what sound is from another library, I've kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
I do have some
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
that I'd like to pack together. Like I've got loads of EMF recordings that I'd absolutely love to stick together. I found you all because Johnny Sims called you all out on one of his streams earlier this week. Oh, I'll need to send Johnny a message saying thank you for that. That's great. The joke that I made earlier about how everyone has read Camlann at some point, everyone in audio drama has read Camlann at some point, absolutely applies here.
How did we get? We were talking about
Yes.
Foley. Should we? Yeah.
Yes.
Back
Well,
onto
my
the
next question related. I mean, unless there's other Foley stuff you want to talk about.
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think so. Yeah. Just yeah.
I guess so. I think the next thing I wanted to has not read Camlann. Okay, everyone in audio drama, like of a certain age, every Celtic person in audio drama. There we go. That's a better way of describing it. Like right. So here's the thing, right? Like I think I might have mentioned this on stream. When Ella asked me to make Camlann, it was just to do the music. Like I made the theme music like in 2018, 2019. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's my job done. Like 8 years later, it's like, can you do the rest of it as well? All right. I was going to say something and I've forgotten what it was. Is Camlann also the name of a book? So Camlann is the name. Ella, you might have to jump in here. Yeah, Ella, the script for Camlann has existed for a very long time. Amber made the mistake of being my inspiring friend. Not a mistake at all. So we're kind of talking about Foley, we're talking about sound design. Can I ask what you did to make the dog sounds? Because some of those are absolutely horrific.
Yeah. Okay, it's three. So there's just actual dogs, classic, pitch down, using. So there was the first draft I sent you where they sounded very like slightly artificial, because I kind of pushed like using Ableton's like pitching, stretching algorithms, which are very like mad. They're very strange, but they can sort of have some unintended artifacting, which is very appealing to me. But then also, if you want it to sound like a real thing, it's kind of slightly out there. But it was like just the sound of like an angry dog, like pitched down, and then there was foxes, because foxes are like fucked, like they just like, I don't know what's going on there.
As someone who lives in Glasgow and has foxes outside my window every night while I'm trying to sleep,
same here. It's like,
awful.
It's mad. I don't understand like what the point of that is.
Just going up to a fox being like, okay, but why?
Yeah, but like I don't. Yeah.
What are you trying to say with this?
Like you can pitching stuff down, especially like is always just like a very simple way to kind of achieve that thing. And then babies crying, like the sound of a baby crying, pitched down way too much.
That's always a horrible like.
Yeah.
Every single like more often than not, every single like horrible sound, like the most horrible sound effect you can think of, most likely going to be a baby. Like I don't know what that says about us as a society, but
I think it's like a psychoacoustic thing, right? It's like the one I imagine. I don't know. I'm not like I don't read about psychoacoustic stuff, but I imagine it's like crying babies is like you're meant to be concerned, right? If they're in distress, like that's like part of the whole thing that we do. And I think it's like there are certain like pitches, like the certain frequencies. It's like, you know, higher frequencies because it's like babies crying, and then lower frequencies because it's like certain animal growls, and then post like earthquake subsonic frequencies, like the aftershocks have like a certain thing that makes us very nervous. So when you get those specific frequencies, you can just like, it's like a cheat code just to like freak people out. But yeah, you take a baby, and not an actual baby. You take the baby recording and pitch it down.
A recording of a baby.
A recording of a baby and pitch it down. And yeah, it's kind of like it has the quality of it, but it's, you know, the baby's crying and is in distress, and so these dogs, you know, I think when something's in distress and is attacking you because of it, it's like it's fucking horrible. So like it's just like a, you know. It felt right, and basically just pitching that down, and then because, you know, pitching stuff down, it removes a lot of the high end. I literally took the same recording and then pitched it way up, so that there was this kind of strange like chorusing,
okay,
up and down pitching effect. And then there was there's Valhalla Valhalla, like they do like
Oh,
wild
the
reverbs.
Yeah, it's super massive.
My God. So then there's like pitch reverb and delay and stuff. And so if you take out like the actual like reverb aspect and it just has this weird kind of pitching aspect to it, you can really get some nasty kind of.
Oh, right. So it's like a pitch reverb. So it.
Yeah, so it pitches some of the
wow.
reflections and well, it's actually a delay, but then
I
you
was gonna
can
say,
obviously it delays it so much.
So it's like a granular.
It becomes a reverb.
Almost.
Basically, yeah. It's really like completely. I love like fucked reverbs. I think they're so like. It's like we've moved beyond trying to recreate like
yeah non-linear reverb. It's wonderful.
It's like yeah. Yeah, that's where the dogs came from. I think they did sound very sort of like they kind of became a bit more naturalistic as like a second draft came along, but that was like the main sort of approach to them. Also reversing stuff as well, like just because then it kind of trying to mask the thing that it was originally. So reverse and pitching, which is so like simple, but it really just hits like it if it works.
I mentioned on a previous stream when it comes to like creature design, the old tricks are still the ones that work the best. Like Jurassic Park, most of the dinosaurs are just animal sounds pitched down. It's the same for Star Wars. Like, if it's still working and like, it's what I think Ben Burt talks about, like the authority of a real sound, I guess. But like just talking about baby recordings. When I was doing Turk Troith for episode 1, I think at one point I did put a baby sound in there, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna pitch it down an octave. But so here's why I don't like using baby sounds, right?
Okay.
And I don't know if this is just the baby sounds that I have or the way that Reaper pitches stuff down. I don't know. Maybe it's something I'm doing. But like, if you take a baby sound and you pitch it down an octave, it just sounds like a fully grown person doing a baby impression.
That's so cool.
It's horrifying.
That's awesome.
Like it's just like. It's just yeah, right. Like it's just, there was a baby sound I pitched down an octave and then just went and I'm like, no, this is horrible.
That's awesome.
It's just it becomes like an urgent alert thing to like, nope, this just makes me feel icky and I don't know why. Like, not found a use for that yet. I found that otters are a better replacement. Like the sound of otters making noises is a better one because otters and foxes, I feel like the noises are equally distressing. I just like, I don't know why I feel like I need to put a disclaimer in here, but I really like foxes. I love foxes very, very much. We did a whole episode of Folklore called Foxlore, where it's mostly just fox noises. It was great. It's one of the best things we've ever made, unironically. But I guess I think it's maybe worth talking a little bit about. There's a particular Australian bird which, when pitched down, makes a perfect dragon. Ooh,
whoa.
Okay, fair enough. I'll keep an eye out for that. Look into that one. I think it's maybe worth talking about creature sound design specifically, because I feel like we don't necessarily get a lot of it in audio drama as sound designers. I guess like what's your... I think it's a unique challenge in audio drama, right? Because with games or with animation or with films, you've got a visual kind of reference. Yeah. Like, so when it comes to stuff like this, do you take a bit of time to like think about the physicality of the creature that you're designing, or is it just a case of let's just throw some sounds in there and figure it out later, or is it a mix of both?
It's definitely my weakest like point, I think, is doing creature stuff. I think, I guess. Let's say using these for an example, like I knew that they were big and I knew that they were in some way like supernatural, and they were like not happy. Like, I think just like picking sort of like vibes from the like sound effects to then sort of move together, or like to merge together, I guess, and then just like EQing and compressing in certain areas that it felt like suggesting the size. I think if you're doing like creatures that super don't exist, I guess I do think about the physicality. I think about like how they like move and what, if they are making a noise, what are they like saying? Because like it's all, they don't just make noises for like shits and gigs. Like it's always like, like there's a point to it. They could try to communicate something. I haven't put a ton of that. I think I'm like trying to think like Chain of Being, I guess, is my like primary example that like there's not been a ton of like creatures in it. But when there have been, it's usually been like, yeah, trying to figure out what they want, I guess, in the same way that like an actor, when they're like trying to do a performance, it's like, because you are basically just like creating, you're like creating a character, even if it is just like a side thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why is it chittering? Like, what's it trying to get out of that? It's not just doing it because like whatever. Like, I mean, I'm putting it in there to build up the scene, but obviously it needs to be doing it for a reason. So I guess, yeah, and then I think it is just like, you know, I mean, sometimes if it's like, I just need like a thing, like they're in a market or whatever, and they just need some kind of thing happening, it'll be as simple as just take a chicken and pitch it down. But like, you know, that kind of thing. Like, but if it's like specific, like it's gathering more attention than it would normally be, I think, yeah, you sort of think about the way it looks, I guess.
I'm genuinely checking.
But you're right.
I have a chicken sound. Yeah, I don't think I do. Do I have a chicken? I've got a cockatoo sound. I don't have a chicken.
Oh, I have the cockatoo, like, I have like a bunch of cockatoo sounds that I like
It's a
put
violent
through
bird.
pulse.
Like,
It's crazy. What's wrong with them?
why are they so
Why-
bad? Like,
What's going on?
that's
Yeah.
really interesting about. I was going to say chickens. No, that's not what I meant to say. It's really interesting about talking about like thinking about it as like an actor. Like I guess that's something I think I view it more as like a boss fight in a video game, right? Like it's telegraphing, you know, which is I think it's much better to do it that way. I think.
Yeah.
But that's and I think I think it was a particularly good approach for this episode, right? Where it's like turns out in the end they're just normal women, just innocent women. I think that's like genuine. I can't hear that line now without like, because the internet has broken my brain. When we were doing the recording, so when we were recording, Ross and I had an Excel spreadsheet open with like the take numbers on it, and Ross was kind of keeping track of that. But then it also meant that I could keep track of what take we were on, and then it also meant that like I could leave notes, and it meant Ross could leave notes as well. That was what was supposed to happen. What ended up happening was we kept like sending each other shit little jokes in the spreadsheet. One of which was in this episode, it was kicking dogs in the face and body from Game Changer. Then the other one was the line of like they were just normal women, and then Ross kept like putting in the box next to it, they're just innocent women, and just it is remarkable that this series got made. Like just
I think but like having fun on a project is it like seeps into every aspect of it. I think it's apparent in this show.
Well, the other one,
just like
there's the scene where Gwen and Perry are in the truck, and Perry says they call themselves the Knights of the Round Table, and it's typed in the box they dance when they're able. But then Ross didn't get it. Ross didn't get it, which was very frustrating. I was just like, that's objectively a good joke. I had to try very hard to not get mad. Yeah, not get mad and yell halfway through a take. Like, just turning around and going, "You don't get that!" Like, we are professionals. We're very good at what we do. Like,
it's my like file naming is always where I put my bits, my jokes, and my goofs, and my gaffs. It's always just like, you know, I think it was what's it called? What's the like I did a thing for Ghost on a Train, and there's like a character that dies, and it's literally just like the character name fucking dies is the name of like the sound effect I did for it. I don't know. It's just like it's for no one except for me and Greg. So that was what it was. But it's just, I don't know. It's fun. Yeah. Stupid.
Oh, fantastic! So, were there any particular challenges that you had with designing? You know, we talked earlier about how you'd not really designed like a real place before. Like, I guess, like, were there any bits that you struggled with? Any particular points that you kind of had to hack at a little bit longer? Like, was there anything like that?
I think the inside the Wilco, I think, was probably the toughest, because obviously when you're outside, it's a lot like the space was generated and the kind of the setting was generated by like what was there, but because inside the Wilco there's nothing except for them and the dogs, and because it's completely dead as well, it was like it's you know, designing the silence of that building, which is always a bit tougher because you can't just keep adding stuff to build it up, which is what I like to do just because I like noise and I like busyness. Were we not supposed to know it was a Wilco?
No. It specifically says it is a Wilco's.
Okay,
it's
cool.
Not it's not an in joke. It was
Okay, cool.
There was a whole thing with the scripts where when Ella sent them to me, Wilco's was closing, and I said to Ella, "It's like you do realize that the Wilco's isn't a thing anymore." And Ella's like, "No. In this universe, Wilco's survives." And then Wilco's rose from the dead again when we were doing the recordings. So yeah, no, it is a Wilco's. But yeah, sorry.
Cool. But yeah, when they're inside, obviously, it's what's not happening. So there's like room tone, which I kind of like to have it a little bit louder than natural, especially because it's meant to feel quite musty. And there's and you know, like no one's been in this building for ages and ages, so it's just rats and dogs and now people. And so the kind of over the top room tone, I think, was helping with that. And then obviously reverb, just like building the space, is always it does it for you. But then I think because it's so quiet, the sounds of the dogs happening in the distance, noticeable, but still not like, oh, there's a fucking thing over there. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to find that balance of like, I need the audience to hear it, and I need the character to be able to have heard it, but not it be so immediate that it's like, okay, let's drop everything we're doing, because obviously it takes them a while to be able to like go listen to me kind of thing. I think that was the biggest challenge, but I think that was just a case of like spatializing and then also creating that kind of distance where reasonably, if you're like, you know, you've seen, you know, you're excited about toilet paper and water and stuff, it's like, I'm busy, like I'm not like focusing on that. I'm focusing on the fact that I'm seeing toilet paper kind of thing. I think is my justification as to why hearing it, because obviously to us it's a little bit obvious, but like I guess you're just in that space kind of thing. But I think that was the thing for me, that I was like trying to find that balance. But beyond that, I think action stuff, I guess, trying to fill the action without completely like filling out the mix as well. Like the sort of sound, the sort of no input stuff leading up to it kind of helped to build it, and then this sudden kind of explosion of action. A lot of random bullshit in that medley, like just like
no, but I
you know.
Like, I think we can maybe give it a listen, because I think that there's a couple of things that you did that I thought was really cool.
But if you were
no, that's back there. We've done that bit. Yeah, we tell you what. Let's just listen to the no input stuff again, because I think it's really cool. And yeah, I'm going to keep saying it. I love this bit. Like absolutely incredible work.
Whatever it is, it's leaving us alone for now. Come on.
Just amazing. I think it does an interesting thing where it like so a couple of things. So I think I love how you handle it, because I feel like it really communicated the adrenaline fueled disorientation, I think, and the noise did that, but then also like everything else that's going on in that moment, I think really kind of sold it, which I thought was great, because like action sequences are very difficult to do. I'm learning this now. But very physical action sequences as well, very difficult to do. But I think that ties back to something, you know, when we talked about experimental audio drama, how like so much of the time it's like we're just gonna throw a load of loud noise at you and you figure it out. But I legit thought Gwen left Perry to die when listening to that part. Yes, that's what was meant to happen. Yes, it definitely hit the chaos and confusion and just the what is happening. Yeah, and like I think something that this series is definitely helping me appreciate, and Kai, I don't know if you picked up on this, but the idea that like the recording the actors in such a way that it sounds like they're bouncing off the sound design. Like we kind of use that a lot with like movement sounds and running sounds and things. So rather than like having the actors be like dead quiet while the character is running, and then suddenly when they stop, they're like, it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that
yeah.
doesn't work. Like for it was amazing recording the scene where Gwen comes into this little office and grab the walkie-talkie, because basically we just told Nicole, like, come up to the music stand, grab the microphone, grab the walkie-talkie, do your lines. But like in the process of doing that, she ran past like a desk that I have over in the corner, and she went over to it and she started like picking stuff up and like banging stuff down and stuff, and made it much more of a visceral like action with sound, which I thought was I don't know how much of that made it into the vocal cut I sent you, Kai, but like
Yeah.
it just gave it more energy and more movement, and then it meant that when adding sound design, it means that like you've already got an energy to bounce off, and you've kind of you're it's much more of a collaborative thing rather than like you've got the voices, so now I'm going to add the sounds underneath it. And I don't know if that was an experience for you with this.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's like going from like, what's it called? Like the complete and total. I guess it's that kind of like going back to like the idea of like chaos in creating stuff and having some things out of your control, that the actors made this decision and then you then respond to that with the sound. And that there are like the sort of slightly more collaborative in that, I guess, with Chain of Being up until for a lot of it, just by way of how it was logistically that everybody was separate and stuff, it kind of felt like total control over it, going from like, I guess it's going from like playing with dolls to playing with someone else. Like it's kind
people,
of like
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like it is literally just like, well, yeah, you have decided what they are doing by the movement of yourself, and so then I'm just like going with that and sort of like facilitating what is already there, which feels a lot better because it's like, yeah, I'm like you feel more confident in it, I think, in that way. But I think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
We do actually have some videos of the recording. If you give me just 2 seconds, I'm going to share my screen. I should probably get the right window first. Promise I do know what I'm doing. Oh no, I closed it down. That's why that's not working. Kai, can you just like vamp for a bit, please?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just rattle off some sound artists that you should be listening to. Toshimaro Nakamura, I think, does no input the best. He has like basically everything of his is on Spotify that is basically just like no input mixing. It's stuff that you never would even consider was possible with like feedback. Genuinely gorgeous, really beautiful stuff. I think, yeah, go check out Mark Fell. Very weird. Ahosan, which is Ahossan, is doing like deconstructed like club music and some of the weirdest textures I've ever like. It feels like you can sit like bite them. It's great. And then also Empty Set, who have been going for a while. They're like Bristol based, but do very conceptually interesting things based on like site specific. And then just again sounds that feel so thick and like industrial and just fucking amazing. Yeah, listen to Empty Set and Hosan, I would say, is my, and Toshimaru Nakamura, but yeah.
Amazing. Right, so I've got a video here. I'm just gonna full screen it. Give me 2 seconds. I see what I've done. I full screened it, but then it's already here. Okay, amazing. Right, so this was from the episode 4 recording. Let me just quickly share my screen, Kai, so you can see it. There we go. So this is the initial scene that we did, where, so let me just get on the window properly. Where we had everything happen together. So this is the kind of moment the attack happens. There is a reason Robin is holding Hobbs. That will become clear in a bit. But yeah, I'll just play it. It's quite quiet, but like I'll play it for you.
Whatever it is, it's leaving us alone for now. Whatever it is, it's leaving us alone for now. Come on.
Yeah, so you can sort of hear the desk noises happening.
Yes. Please work. Hello?
So that's how we recorded the series. It's like
Not less intimidating when it's.
yeah, it's that like you sort of watch videos like that and you're kind of like it does look very strange, but like if you you can't argue with the results, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like we recorded a separate track of Robin just being attacked by the dogs, but like it's and it was the I think there is a video we have where I think I just turned to Robin and I'm like, sorry, it always seems to be you that does that's doing these moments, doing these actions. But it meant we had like a separate one, so it meant that like it could be quietly in the background while other stuff went on. But yeah, like physical acting, yeah, voice acting isn't physical acting. Like there was something very fun about just kind of letting the actors run around the room and just being like, run around, do things, yell things, like pick stuff up, put stuff down. I think giving them that freedom, and they very much embraced that freedom as well, right? They very much embraced the idea of like, we're gonna use the entire space, which was great. You also might have noticed a blue flannel, like on this little square on the floor. That was a squeaky floorboard that basically I had to put that down every morning and being like, don't stand on this. Creaky floorboard. I can't get rid of it. It'll be very difficult to edit out in post. Please don't step on it unless you're doing an indoor scene. Because we did end up using some of the genuine studio floorboard creaks for some of the house noises. But yeah, like I think one of the big joys of this series has been the fact that like we've been able to experiment across all parts of the process. Like and it's like I was a little bit worried sending, because I think I sent you the stereo file of the recordings. And I was just like, okay, I've figured out how to use these, but it's taken me like 3 episodes.
It was that was I think probably going back to like the things that was difficulties was just figuring out how that like it's definitely a different workflow for sure. But I think like asking you for like advice and stuff on it, it ended up relatively like simple. Basically, like it was just.
What did you end up doing? I don't think we talked about it. What did you end up doing for the voices? Did you sort of separate them out, or did you sort of keep it as a stereo file?
I think for when they were outside, I ended up separating them out just to like pan slightly. But then when they move in, it ended up a bit more like together. It's sort of slightly claustrophobic when they're inside. And then the only time, in my head, like the way I had blocked it out was that they were basically within pretty close proximity to each other. And then it was very handy having the separate file of like getting attacked like sounds, because then you can just like pan down and then have them run away. But yeah, I think it was once like it was the outside, just because it was also outside, like having no reverb on the voice. But when you're inside, it just becomes a lot like the spatialization is done for you when you slap a reverb on. But then when you're outside, it's really annoying. So
yeah, outdoor reverb's very specific, right? Like there was a trick that I was taught, which was you put a really short delay on it, so it sounds a lot more like it's just bouncing off off buildings and things. I use that a lot. That's very handy, because it's finding a way to do outside reverb without it sounding, really big. There's also a free plugin that I've been using called Outdoor Verb. That's free. It's not perfect, and it only really works if it's really quiet in the mix. And I've been using it for Camlann. It's very good at doing gated reverb. So if you want to do some gated reverb sounds, if you want to get those Phil Collins snare sounds in your audio drama, it does gated reverb really, really well. But reveal the outdoor reverb secrets. It's that I think as a general principle, use delay rather than reverb, because reverb by definition is in a space, in a space, whereas for an outdoor sound, at least this is kind of how I've managed to parse it. For an outdoor sound, you just have to be very conscious of, well, is there anything to bounce off?
Yeah.
It is a particular thing figure out and learn. But yeah.
Did an amazing thing, because I'm working on a sort of very small project with my brother, which is like a Welsh English like bilingual thing. So we're doing a Welsh version and English version. We're just gonna, it's like a one-off thing.
I can hear
but
Ella's
based
ears
on,
perking up.
yeah, it's about like the last ever giant, basically, and this king goes to like ask him for his land, and
Yeah.
is like, can I have this? And the giant's like, no, fuck off. And then yeah, it's very depressing. But we really wanted the sound. My dad's an actor, also plays the villain in Chain of Being, but which is not like a Freudian thing. He was always around, so I got him to play one of the main characters. But he basically, we wanted him like clambering up this, because it's like set in North Wales, because that's where we're from. So it was like trying to get the sort of feel of it. So we went on top of the Orme in Llandudno and basically just got my dad to scramble up this little thing, and we were in this big like an amphitheater shaped like cliff thing.
Oh wow.
And then basically just got my dad to walk from one side to the other and scramble up the bit I was on, and like live recorded it. And just the sound of his footsteps echoing off the side, and the sound of the rain dripping through the rocks is like, it was fucking awesome. Like, it was so
That's
sick.
really
Like,
cool.
if we'd had more time, it would have been nice to have recorded all of his lines in that space, but the person that we got to play the giant could only do it in studio. So, but yeah, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that's how you learn it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you just notice how things reverberate outside, and really listen to it, and try and figure out how to recreate that. Because I was also advised to use high pass filters or something, because low frequencies don't travel as well. I mean, like, I think like it's not something that I've particularly used, because I think but then again, it depends on the space you're in, right? I mean, because bass frequencies are bigger, and they're bigger and they travel slower. Have I got that right, or am I?
Yeah.
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 So it's like, if you want to really feel a bass from a speaker, the best place to stand is like quite far back, because then the waves will get bigger. So I'm not sure how that works going the other way with that, but yeah, I don't know. I think, as with all audio drama, like the best ideas are the slightly unusual ones, and I think it's just a case of think about the sound you're trying to get, and then try and figure that out. Because this is going to sound like a gripe, and it genuinely isn't. It's a perfectly understandable thing. I also do this. I include myself in this definition, but I feel like not enough people really understand how reverbs work. They tend to just like pick a space, and then, I mean, again, absolutely, I'm guilty of doing that.
Yeah.
The most control I have over a reverb most of the time is I change the wet dry ratio, and that's it. So I think, like, if there's a particular thing you're wanting to do, you just have to pick a plugin that you really like using and really figure out how to use it, really get into the nuts and bolts of it. Because most of them have similar what's the word, qualities. There's a better the things you control on a plugin. Parameters. Thank you, God. Oh, I was going to be here for days. Yeah, all of them have very similar parameters. Once you know what they mean, you can kind of do that with all. You know, I did it with synthesizers, right? Like if you use enough synthesizers, you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, this.
I learned from Vital. Was like the like virtual synth, because then it has like visual aspects for like LFOs and envelopes and stuff. So it's like, oh, that's visually what it's doing, which I find really was very helpful to me. And then after that, it's like, yeah, fucking LFO. I just still don't know what like some of the stuff does, but it's whatever. I make sounds. Like,
the outdoor verb plugin I talked about earlier does have a trans slider. I'm scared to touch it.
Hell yeah.
Just like, is up good? I don't know.
Trans what?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Like, in which direction does this go? There's no labels. Anyway.
Fair enough.
I have a great relationship with my child. I play the villain in multiple of their audio dramas.
Yeah, he died. My dad dies in season 1. Spoilers. And then he doesn't have a good time. He plays a character in season 2 and has a bad time in that. And it's like, I'm not like doing this like as like, Like it's fine. Like it's just I don't know. I just trust him to do it. Like I trust him to do a good job.
Some
of
actors
being
are better at
miserable.
having a bad time. This is the
Yeah.
thing. Like we learned this with Robin for Camlann, and Robin fully like agrees with this, being like this. There's just something. There's an innate quality. But yeah, that's very.
That's his. Yeah, he's in like he does like theater and film and TV and stuff. He's always typecast in like theater. He plays children a lot, and then he always plays criminals.
What?
He does like weird like avant-garde theater. That's like his thing. He plays like he was in a play where he played a kid that gets. I'm not going to talk about it. It's very gruesome, but
Okay.
he has a bad time as a child, and then or if he's in TV, he's a criminal, or he's naked, which he is interesting to.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like fully as well, like uncensored on TV. It was unusual. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just
Actor parents.
yeah, I was
What are you
just
gonna do?
need a second to
Yeah.
to process
No.
that.
It's fun things for people to find in secondary school.
Tell us more about this project you're making. Not about the naked actor. But
Yeah,
about this bilingual project. Like
Yeah,
tell us more about that.
it's my my brother's like thing. He wrote it originally as like a visual thing, just as like a practice, and we sort of because he did film and does like documentary and wants to get into like doing film and stuff. And so had written this thing, and then we were just like talking about it, and I thought it was a really interesting concept. I mean, obviously setting it in like North Wales just felt good, and like going on walks with the family and stuff. It's obviously a gorgeous place to be, and then just both of us having a very solidified idea of the setting, and the kind of things that go into it, both having the same kind of upbringing about Wales and stuff, and being not living there but like visiting and having this kind of I don't know, we're obviously on this, I mean we're related, so we're on the same page about that, but do you know what I mean, like it's that kind of and so he had written this thing and then converted it into a sort of audio only thing. We've been working on it for a while, but we got my dad and then another person which I'm not going to say, but it's someone not like famous in way like in terms of Welsh actors, but like not but we'll talk about it when it's like ready. But it's working with my brother for the first. What?
I'm just like, I'm not going to say who it is because it's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's kind of a big deal.
I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Like it's banging. It's awesome. But doing a fantastic job as well. But this basically just a dialogue and then like a thing at the end. But it's sort of it's like. So kind of linking it to like a historical thing, because we're both sort of into history in a similar way as well, but also the kind of fantasy aspect, both growing up with things like Hellboy and that sort of thing. It's very like 10 minutes, very simple, but it's been very interesting working from this perspective, sort of with him on it. Yeah, it's good. It's very fun. And sort of having it translated, my dad sort of translated it into a sort of very older style of Welsh, like very kind of like sort of not so modern, but like using words that he hadn't heard before and sending it to like friends of his. So we've got this really sort of collaborative aspect with various people. Yeah, it's real fun. Really sort of, yeah, real depressing as well. It's about like this giant who basically refuses to move from the land, and it's this kind of thing about like, yeah. I want to like finish it before I say anything else.
That's understandable.
Yeah,
That's absolutely that question was more for Ella than anything else.
And if you want to read the script, I'll send it to you. Like you can just like no, or unless you'd want to see it when it's out, it's like up to you.
Okay,
yeah.
so we're coming up to 9:45, so I'm gonna habitually tell the chat if there are any specific questions you'd like to ask Cai or myself about episode 4. Stick them in the chat, and we'll try to. Don't give me that choice. We'll try to get through them. So, Cai, is there anything that we've not talked about this episode, or your experience of working on Camlann that that you would like to talk about, that you'd like to mention?
I don't know. It's been a different like working situation, I guess. Like, I mean, every project I've been on has been different. I guess it's just the nature of sort of indie stylings of stuff. But yeah, it's been a very nice sort of like back and forth as well, and sort of discussing. I think because it also coincided sort of interviewing you and Ella for my dissertation as well. So it's sort of all at the same time of like talking to you about that, and then also being in a very sound minded, like academic minded sense as well. I think it was really nice to sort of like put it into practice in the like experimental, but kind of trying to like put it into practice and work it into a thing that already exists, which I found very interesting, to sort of like put my money where my mouth is, turn practice into, turn theory into practice kind of thing. I think that was probably the big thing for me, which that essay will eventually be put out, but
it's really good. I'm I'm excited for more people to listen to it, because it's
fucking awesome. I'm so proud of it.
It's really good. It's
like it's
like
great.
I listened to it once and I'm like, I need to listen to that again. That was great. Ella is saying, I just want to say as a writer that in addition to what we've discussed, especially the way you built tension and designed the dogs, I really liked how you handled spacing. I guess as a director, I was really pleased with the way you blocked and staged the scenes. It was exactly what I wanted and worked really well in terms of the drama. So that's a positive review from our wonderful writer and director. Marvelous. Okay. I don't believe. Is there anything else worth talking about actually with episode 4? I suppose there is one thing actually. So we have one more thing to talk about. One quick little final thing. So for the scene at the end where Gwen arrives back and Morgan and Di sort of run over to the truck and then take Perry off and then go inside. So initially the idea was that like in the script what happens is Gwen gets back and then it's like new scene, they're in the house. And we sort of thought, well, it might be interesting to like have the actual action of going to the truck, getting Perry coming off and going into the house. Annoyingly, we didn't have enough like effort sound from the takes that we did. But there was a blooper from episode 4 where basically the scene starts with Di and Morgan, carrying Perry, so they're like doing the heavy breathing thing, and then I think Di has the line. It was Tobias's line, but for some reason Tobias kept forgetting to start the scene, so it meant that we had about 20 seconds of the two of them just going like that, and I ended up chopping it out of this blooper and then adding it to the scene, so you get the to kind of create that sound. Let's see if I can find it in here. Oh, Reaper, no, don't let me down.
This
now.
works, Morgan.
Oh, there you go.
Off the map. If I tried, that.
Morgan! Die! I need your help! Oh my god.
Perry.
So this is blooper. This is all blooper. And now that's when it takes.
There's so much blood.
Die! They're slipping! Grab their shirts, not their arms! Morgan, clear the table!
So yeah, that was how that sound was achieved. So I've been trying to imagine what good boy Gellert looks like, and I keep imagining him as a deerhound. So I guess the question is, how do you imagine Gellert? From a writing perspective, he's an Irish wolfhound, but Amber effectively plays Gellert by making a lot of extra decisions in their sound design. Like, to be honest, Gellert's kind of what I describe as sort of like the vibes controller. Like Gellert is very good at making distressing scenes more distressing, and also makes like funny scenes funnier, and is kind of very good at setting. Like, it's something I didn't quite realize. If you have an animal in an audio drama, it's a very good way of like setting a tone, because animals know stuff that we don't, and you can use that as a way to like create a mood, which is quite fun. If it's a spoiler, don't tell me. But is Gellert in danger of being written out? That's an Ella question, not for me. The honest answer is I don't know. Noted for future reference. But also, I said on the last couple of streams, I'd lost Gellert's bell. I did find it again. Nice. Gel's bell has returned, so I don't need to keep just using the same sound over and over again. Okay. Kai, do you want to plug some things that you're working on? Where can people find more of you? What would you like people to listen to?
You can find me on the remnants of whatever Twitter is at the moment, which I think was in the chat a couple times. I can't remember. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm doing my final year of uni, so I've got 2 major projects that are on the way that will be sort of out like June-ish. But the main one is a sort of kind of noise music, but also kind of electronic music album that's coming out that is not based on a moment in season 2 of Chain of Being, but is tangentially related in a sort of there's a scene, there's a sort of very abstract scene which I've then taken the recording of and used that as like to sample it a bunch of times in as many ways as I can physically manage to sample a voice, creating an album from that, which is on its way. It's like something I've never done before, and I'm very scared to like put an album out, like it's music, and it kind of that's on its way. But keep an eye out on the Twitter and stuff. But also, if you go onto Bandcamp, it's Dinas, Dinas. You can listen to, like, if you like the noise music and stuff. Chain of Being season 2 is currently sort of paused the production, but it's definitely happening. It's just I can't do season 2 and my final year of uni at the same time because I'm only one person. But that's definitely happening. I'm still very excited about it. I work on various things. You can sort of see where that is on like Fausty Nonsense. Listen to Chain of Being. I think it's good. It's like a thing that I love a great deal. It's like been doing it since I was 17 years old, and I love it more than anything in the whole world. So yeah, that's everything, I think.
Yeah, well, there's a plethora of other shows that you work on, but like the people will find it when they go and look up your stuff and see all the wonderful other overlaps there are with other shows. Ella is recommending Chain of Being. That's the highest honor.
Amazing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, Kai.
Thanks so much for having me.
Very much appreciated. And thank you again so much for your work on Camlann. It's been a joy to work with you. And
genuinely an amazing experience that has made me a better sound designer. So
Oh, good, good. That's the way around you want that to be. You don't want somebody to come out of the project being like, yeah, no, I'm worse for this experience.
Yeah, I quit. I'm done. Fucking hate sound now.
Thank you for this opportunity. I never want to do any work ever again.
I'm gonna go become an accountant.
Marvelous, wonderful, and to everyone watching, thank you so much for coming along. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be back on Monday with another listen along because episode 5 is coming out on Monday. It's very exciting. It's a very exciting episode, and we'll have some of the cast and crew on to talk about it as always. And then hopefully we'll be back to our regular streaming schedule for a couple of weeks because the last couple of weeks have been a bit all over the place. I've been ill. I've had stuff on, but that's all behind us now. Hopefully, and we'll be back doing. I do want to do another radio scrapbook stream with the sample box because I've had ideas and things I want to try with it, and I've just not had time because I'm working on Camlann all the time. But in the meantime, we'll be back next week. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you have a good one wherever you are, and we will hopefully see you soon. Good night.